What's up, everybody, and welcome back to A Fan's Eye View. I'm Justin, and I know you saw that title and you're thinking, are you dumb? Are you stupid? No, the NBA does not hate Joel Embiid. He's their poster child. Have you seen how the refs treat him? How many calls he gets? How the league adores him? And yes, I know, he just shot 24 some free throws on his way to scoring 70 points. Insane. A lot of free throws. He flops a lot. I get it. I know. You can go ahead and go on Google or YouTube typing Joel Embiid flop compilation, and you'll find a lot. You'll find a ton of videos about it. I hate Joel Embiid too, right? Every morning I wake up, I grab my Joel Embiid hate juice. I go, wow, that tastes delicious. I love hating Joel Embiid. I'm that guy too. But we're talking about a different kind of hate here, okay? We're talking about the rule the NBA put in place this season, and presumably for the remainder of the seasons that come in this league. You have to play at least 65 games in order to win any postseason award. Now, when I say postseason award, I'm not referring to a conference finals MVP or even a finals MVP, right? All you got to do in that is to, I assume, play a single game in the playoffs, and you'll probably qualify technically for those. But we're talking about the All-NBA, All-Defense, MVP, right? That's the big one we're talking about today specifically. But all those awards, you got to play 65 regular season games in order to be, up in the running to try and win them, which to most people, 65 games probably isn't like a crazy number. It's like, yeah, most players should hit that. So I thought it'd be fun to put on our analytic glasses, because obviously when people hear about this rule, the person they think about is Joel Embiid. They think, oh, well, they're maybe doing it to target him. Maybe they want him to play more. Or maybe it's to try and stop load management from happening, because load management has been a big term in the NBA as of late, specifically around the Los Angeles teams. So I thought we could look at those teams too. We could look at the old MVPs, the All-NBA teams from previous years, and see how many games they actually average. So then we here at A Fan's Eye View can decide, and you, the viewer, can decide for yourself as well if you agree with the rule or disagree. So without further ado, if you like what you see, please drop a like, maybe a comment. Anything helps. I love you if you do it, but let's dive into the stats. Now, immediately when this rule was announced, a lot of people, and good reason, immediately thought of the topic of this video, Joel Embiid, right? It's almost a meme. He's always out. He's always missing. Hell, tonight he didn't play against Nikola Jokic when they were in Denver. He hasn't played there since, I think, Jared Vanderbilt was a member of the Nuggets, so that kind of goes to show how long it's been. They even had signs saying missing, Joel Embiid. So, he's a guy that does miss a lot of games. I just mentioned he has to play he can only miss 5 of the last 38 games for his team this year in order to win any postseason awards. And it's interesting because this is a guy who has been on the All-NBA teams 5 different times, right? He's been on All-Defensive team 3 different times. He's been MVP, okay? But only, I think, 3 of those awards would still hang over. He'd have an All-NBA second team. He'd have the All-NBA first team. He'd have the MVP. He wouldn't have any of his all-defensive teams, and like I just said, he wouldn't have 3 out of his 4 all-NBA second teams with this 65-game rule. Now, that's interesting because, you can't really argue Joel Embiid hasn't been one of the best players in the past 7 years, right? He deserves those all-NBA awards, but I knew from the jump Joel Embiid was not a liked individual, right? This rule, if it affects him and only him, a lot of people won't care, right? Sixers fans will care, and some diehard ball fans will care because they like to see the game kept in its purity, right? But a lot of haters are just going to be, whatever. Screw Joel Embiid. Maybe he should play if he wants his awards. So, for the sake of playing devil's advocate or just hunting around, let's take a look at a couple other players the rule would affect as well. Now, someone else you may have thought of when you heard this rule would be Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi Leonard is not nearly as hated as Joel Embiid. He's not a polarizing figure. He's a pretty well-liked star in the league. Fun guy, Kawhi. Memes about him laughing. He doesn't trash talk like Embiid or have that kind of raunchy attitude that makes people not like Embiid unless you're a Sixers fan for the most part. But Kawhi, whether he likes it or not, has been the face of the load management movement. And it's hard to deny it. He's been in the league since 2011. And he has only eclipsed the 65 game mark 3 times in his career. All 3 were San Antonio back in the day. He last played for them in 17-18 season. Since then, he has not even gotten close to 65 games. He got to 60 with the Raptors in his 1 championship year with them. So, this is a guy whose career would be forever altered by this rule had he played at the time. This is a guy who has 3 All-NBA first teams, 4 All-Defensive second teams, 2 All-NBA second teams, 3 All-Defensive first teams, 2 Defensive Players of the Year, okay? 2 Defensive Player of the Year. That's a big number. Not a lot of players get those, okay? Rudy Gobert, he has 3, and he's touted as one of the best defensive players ever, okay? Kawhi Leonard has 2. Guess what? Only one of those would have counted with this new rule, okay? You look at someone's career a lot differently if they have 1 Defensive Player of the Year versus 2 Defensive Player of the Year, okay? Half of his awards wouldn't even count, right? He has 5 All-NBA selections, okay? At the very most, he would only have 3 of those. He's got 7 All-Defensive selections, okay? Again, he couldn't even have possibly more than 3 with this rule. That changes Kawhi Leonard's final, career standing a ton, okay? When you look back on players, you're going to view their awards, their statistics, right? That's what makes them so good. I had a whole video on Rudy Gobert earlier in the year saying he could legitimately be a Hall of Famer just off his 3 Defensive Player of the Years alone, okay? Now, Rudy Gobert, in his defense, would still have all 3 of his because he has played the 65 games in all his years. But someone like Kawhi, he was named into the top 75 players in NBA history, right? He was on the 75 All-NBA team this last season. He is good. He is that guy. But he would have his awards cut in half if he had played during this rule. So that's something else to think about. If you think about, is this award fair? Does it work for other players? Now, the 2 players I have mentioned are players historically known for missing games, okay? Embiid, Kawhi, yes, we know they are known for missing games. So, let's take a look at the previous MVPs and the All-NBA teams and see if they do average more than the 65 games and how much more do they average. You see here this beautiful, wonderful graph made by my partner Sam. Shout out Sam. You can see the MVPs and their games played. Now, you see a pretty steady line right there where it's, especially the early 4 years. This is the last 10 MVPs, by the way. You got Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Westbrook, Harden, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid. Now, you see 2 lines very low on the spectrum. Giannis Antetokounmpo's was cut short by COVID, obviously. And then the other low one, the only one even close to that length, was Joel Embiid. Now, keep in mind, that is 66 games played. He did technically eclipse the required amount of games that season. But as you can see, this rule doesn't really affect MVPs that much, at least in the last 10 years. These all players have played in a plethora of games, over 70 for almost all of them, except for you're cut in half by a freak disease. Okay, you can see the average far outweighs Joel Embiid's MVP season. So the case can be made, this doesn't really affect the MVP category. No one that has won MVP has really had to worry about the amount of games they played. You can see Westbrook, he played all 82. He won MVP. Maybe that's why he won MVP, but again, not a huge deal for the MVP race according to the stats. What we see here, the All-NBA first team average games played for the past 10 years as well. Again, only one is super short. Again, that was because of COVID. That's the 1920 season. But 2021 is short as well. It's around that 65 game mark, which, you can kind of equate to someone we talked about earlier, Kawhi Leonard. It was Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic, who rounded out this 2020 to 2021 All-NBA first team. So again, the games played averaged out by the All-NBA first team is above this 65-game mark. So maybe the NBA is onto something. Maybe this is a fair number. Maybe they're not just targeting Embiid. Maybe they did more research than the average fan wants to think they did. But it seems that for the most part, these statistics do end up working out okay. But the other side of the coin is the man himself, Joel Embiid, right? Joel Embiid is having himself a year, okay? He's averaging 36 points a game, which is first in the league. Some of the highest point totals we've seen in a long time, okay? He's 6th in the league in rebounding, and he's 24th in the league in assists, right? Can you have a guy who finishes the year with 36 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists a game be not MVP or even an all-NBA team at any point? Like, I don't know if I view that as fair or okay, right? Maybe you can go ahead and make it an MVP only game total, right? I'm fine with, if you want to win MVP, you got to play 65 games. All right, fine. You got me there. Maybe even stretched out to first team, okay? But Joel Embiid deserves an all-NBA spot this season, regardless if he plays 64 games, okay? And this is coming from a guy, right? I said earlier, I don't like Joel Embiid, okay? I'm a Joel Embiid hater. Okay, I don't hate Kawhi Leonard, but he also probably deserves an all-NBA spot, whether it be second or third team, with his season, regardless if he only plays 64 games, okay? LeBron James hasn't reached the 65-game mark since joining the Lakers. He is still one of, if not the best player in the league, right? I just don't see this rule as really that fair. I think that voters already took into consideration games played, right? If a guy averages 50 points a game, but he played 20 games, he's not going to win MVP. We don't have to worry about that. Again, to me, for the most part, this comes around because of load management. This is the NBA trying to keep its stars played. We've already seen Anthony Edwards come out and say he wants to play in every single game if he can because somebody might have spent their hard-earned money to come see you play. Other NBA stars don't seem to have that concern, which they don't have to, right? It's totally valid if they don't think they need to. If they're good enough to where they think they want to sit, I guess more power to them, right? But this rule seems to be put in place more so to inspire people to play, I guess, to try to, force them into playing. Because some of these contracts players sign have incentives to make the All-NBA team or to make an All-Star game, which isn't affected by this. But, they have incentives like that. So perhaps this is the NBA just forcing players' hands because they don't know what else to do, right? They can't find teams. They've tried to set rules in place to force somebody to play, but let's face it, it's not going to work. Teams can lie all they want, right? You can say, oh, a guy's got thigh soreness. He's got groin soreness, right? They can just make that stuff up and get away with not playing someone. So, to me, I don't like the rule. I'm sorry. I know a lot of Joel Embiid haters love the rule because a lot of their favorite players will play 70 games this year and be up for all those awards. But to me, it's a silly award, right? It's a silly rule. People are going to take into consideration games played anyway, so just get rid of the rule. I know you want to try and stop the load management, but I don't like it. Get rid of the rule. That's my opinion. Please let me know yours down below in the comments. Drop a like if you haven't already, and please just subscribe. Helps us out a ton. And if you like this video, hit that notification icon. You get alerted to more. We're going to try to pump these out weekly. But from Fan's Eye View, I'm Justin. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one.